100 years ago, right? Old grandfather, right?
Yeah.
Is in there, James Copues, and you can see who
Yeah.
he was,
Yes, I can see him, yes.
right?
Yeah.
And you can see my father's name, Michael Copues,
Yeah,
right?
right there, yeah.
Clark. You can see another Copues there, right?
Yeah.
And so forth, right? That's 100 years ago, right? Flour mills,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
See that
that's
now, yeah. It's very interesting.
And profession.
Yeah, I can see that there. Fisher, flour and
Flour,
green
corn.
mills.
yeah. He was in the boy. I
Yeah.
think he was a fitter at the time.
Yeah.
Did be involved in corn and
Now,
grain
that's
and
how
flour.
far our
Fitter
family
went
goes back,
everywhere.
right? It could probably go back a few years before that, right?
Yeah.
But that's only just giving you an idea, right?
Yes, that's it.
Of going back in history. That's 100 years now, mine.
I noticed that your James was Church of England.
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
He was an
he's-
Englishman.
What's
Born in
happened there?
England, so
He,
it's there, yeah.
he fought in the Boer War, or not Zulu War, right? And he came back, and when they came back to England, half the crowd, the army was left in England, the other half was transported over here.
They were the occupation
Right.
forces here at the time.
And
Okay.
he met my grandmother, right? And they got married in 1882 in the Presbyterian St Michael's over in Perry Square, right?
Yeah.
It's the Catholic Church.
Now he continued he kept himself as what he was, Church of England, until about a year before he died, and he changed his religion.
And Dr. Cooper was the man that changed it. You remember, I've often heard of Dr. Cooper.
No.
Oh, he was a prominent figure in the Catholic hierarchy.
Really?
He was in St. Michael's Parish. St. Michael's Parish covered a lot. It covered down to Denmark Street and back up Ballinacurra, under the diocese. But Dr. Cooper was the man, that converted him to that religion, over to the Catholic religion. But we all were Catholics. And any of us that came from it. We had it.
And how did he convert him? Do you know?
Talk. But
See,
they lived to be old, very old,
the grandmother was a Catholic.
And
She came from Muskegon, right? But all her children, she brought them up as Catholics, right?
Yeah.
And as I said, that's putting you back there, right? Now, at that time, it could have been good buddies, I think. There were the mills.
Jane Russell owned it.
Jane or Russell, yeah.
It was under Russell, it's Jane Russell.
And then became good buddies, I think, and then after that you had Valentine's, right? And then it became ranks, right?
In the 30s.
Now,
That's right.
let's see what we can bring you from there.
See, Ranks bought all the small mills up that was in the
That
city.
is a photograph of the man who was Newtown Ferry, Collinson.
Yeah.
He was the
Was he
manager
there?
in Newtown.
Oh, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah,
Because
he was there.
one of my
recognise
Mr.
stepsisters,
Mercer was there now with him. Mr. Mercer was brought over from England, and he was a technical man alongside him, but Collison was the manager, the mill manager.
that was Collinson, right? Because my stepsister is there. She used to work in the house for him, right? And that's the Collinsons. I don't think it.
The maid.
I don't know whether there's a photo of him on any place or not, right?
I think there is in the Mercier collection.
There is in the Mercier collection.
And in his diaries,
And he's a
he
stone
mentions
man.
Collison a bit.
Yeah.
What was the difference in the job? What's as manager? What did Collison do? That was
Collison was the flour mill manager.
right.
He was running it, and Mercer was brought from England into that to up it
Okay.
because he was technical, and he was there. And when they closed down Newtown Perry and the city mills, roller mills, and so forth like that, and went down to ranks, Mercer now became the manager. Collison was then
So was
disposed
Collison
of. He was
pushed
disposed.
aside a bit?
He ended up in Kilrush running the Kilrush flour mills. he was down. He went to Kilrush to run the mills
That
there.
was a bit of a demotion.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he had a house at the top of Mount Kinnet. You know what the Garda Barracks
You know what
was?
again? Next, just the
Yeah.
opening is there, and then
The mill there.
the house was there in the front, on the facing the road.
And that house was attached. That was brought you back into the Northamptonbury.
Into the back of the mill.
Into the back of the
Yeah,
mill. It
that's
was
right.
connected to it. If you went out in the yard of it, you'd see all the fellas crossing the yard. They were all working in the mill.
And what mill was that? That was
That was Northamptonbury.
that was Newtown Perry.
That's right.
I always get confused. I expect Newtown Perry to be.
I'll show you what Northampton. Have you that photograph there?
And where was this? The roller mills then?
The roller mill was in Rocher Street. Do you know where
Where
Douglas
the
the
old
Glazers?
telecom
Where
Dugan
the
Glazers are.
Our stone building.
Oh,
You see, they're all now. But that one, there's Northamptonbury. It gives you a bit of information on it. They're dirty now because they have been all over the place. They came from my grandfather's house, you know. You can see the way that they put the backing even on the paper, on the back of it. It's cardboard.
This is still standing, is it?
I have to see that now.
oh, that's the start of it.
No, that's gone. There's nothing.
No,
That was
no,
completely
Yeah, Newtown
wiped
Perry,
out.
yeah.
The workers.
All
I
wiped
can
out.
do, I can
You
find
had
out
no
some
in
of
it,
them.
Northampton
Yeah,
Perry.
1935.
There.
Yeah.
That was completely wiped out. The
Okay.
Henry Street head office then was just where
And who would you know
the
there
Garda
then?
Barracks.
Right.
The park, the Garda
Right.
Barracks.
Yeah, we put
Where you
that-
park your car, the gas carpet yard, that was the head office of the South of Ireland Green and Transport Company it was called. But that was where all the head office staff were in there. They used to
His
look
name
out.
is Errol's,
No.
Jerry Errol's.
Yeah.
It was all together.
Joe Copues,
I think, yeah.
right? An uncle of mine, right?
That one there.
Flaherty, right? O'Donnell, right? Now, I've got to go away from him now again. Franz Copues, right? That's Sam Copues, right? Which is, I got the clock there belonging to him, right? Now, I may not know much more about him there in the crowd, you know, because, as I said, when you turn around, I think 1935,
That was taken
I
in
was
the
only
old
6 years old.
Northamptonbury stand.
That's what I'm saying. Compared
We
to-
have an original
Right.
of that photo,
I think you have.
but we've no idea who's in it.
Yeah.
Well, he give you an idea how that. It's
I'll
very
give you,
hard to
I'll
get
give you
it,
an idea of some of them. You see,
Some
people
of
that come up that know.
Yeah.
but you will
Yeah.
get people coming
Right.
into you who will
That's
tell
no
you what
Tom
the
Perry.
is.
Yeah.
If
In
you
that
have
way.
Yeah.
them there,
Right?
just say, do you know anyone there? And
Yeah.
they'll give you a name.
Now, this is Mrs. Kerwin, the woman who was in charge of all the girls in the sewing
yeah.
machine, the sack depot. And that's Arthur Rank himself, right?
Yeah.
Making a presentation on the retirement, yeah? Because at that time, she must have been 75, 76 years of age when she was retiring, yeah? From ranks. That's some of the girls that worked there. You probably know the girls. O'Brien is
That's Josie Shimmers anyway, and that's Anna O'Brien,
O'Brien,
and that's Mary Boland.
right? And that's when they made the presentations, so, right? And as I said, that's Sam Copues there, Franz Copues there, Mickey Collin there, Mrs. Kerwin there. That was only one of my stepsisters that was helping her down
Is that
there.
Moira just there?
Yeah, Moira.
That's the girl now that was the housekeeper for Collinson.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You probably know more of them now than I would.
I have brought them.
Got glasses?
Yeah, I must keep spare glasses in me for a cord. That's the chemist, McNabb. Yeah,
Right.
McNabb.
Yeah.
He was the head chemist in ranks. That's Mick Gabbard there. He was a foreman, flour miller. That's Jack Buckley there. Just trying to put a name in now, can't get on. I have to go through now. That's Donald O'Donoghue there. He came from Cork. He became one of the managers after Mr. Mercer had left. You know, that man there. He became mill superintendent for Limerick, Cork, Dublin and Clara after. Get down here now. There's Mercer there.
Hi.
Let's see. And that's Deacon, Mr. Deacon there, Major Deacon. And that's Mr. Liddy, who was the mayor at the time. And that's Mr. Greenwood. He was managing director. He came from England to take over. He became managing director there at that time. Few of them know, I know he was the secretary, the company secretary. I can't put a name on him now, but he was the company secretary that night. Stevie Shinners, yeah. They worked in the mill, you see.
They were all retired.
They were all people who had over 40 years service done at that time. Now, if that's any good to you.
So they got the presentation for 40 years service, was it?
Yeah. And they either give them, they got the choice of a clock or a radio at that time. That's what they got.
Now, this is a different one altogether, because Promdon Mill, right?
Yeah.
Which you didn't seem to mention, right?
Yeah.
We set up a social club in the Promdon Mill in about 1956, right? I was the chairman, right? Christy Sheehan was the secretary. Martin Lynch was on the committee, treasurer. There's Gerard Moore. He won the Euro Million one time, 4 million, right? He's dead and buried now. Jack O'Frawley, right? Kerwin, he went to America and became a policeman there, and Pascal Hayes, right?
Yeah.
Don't think I've got much more. But what I've done is done some copies for you of these, right? Because that's I got that clock, right? And I would like
might like to have it, you know.
Yeah.
Be something to pinpoint.
Now this is in perfect working order.
The only thing that dresses.
And it's got there, right?
Presented
Samuel
to Samuel Copues by the Directors of Ranks Ireland Limited on completion of 48 years service 1959.
Yeah. Now it's in perfect condition. The only thing is the glass has gone from it, right? That it's a striking clock,
Everybody heard it.
right? So I mean, if you're setting up a museum, right?
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to have an exhibition in the Hunt Museum. You know the Hunt Museum?
Yeah.
We're going to have an exhibition in the Hunt Museum next March. So we're gathering material now. So this is all.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Great. We'd love that.
Anything you want, you can have it. That we have. We
Right.
can anyway. We
That'd
can
be
help.
fantastic.
It is in perfect condition.
Yeah.
Right, as I said, I've left it run down.
It is.
But it's perfect time and got everything. But if you wind it up, mind, you're going to hear bong, 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 you know, on the strike, and so it's best that you leave it alone until you get things right.
I might take a photo of it just so we remember.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. Now,
They're just smaller photographs.
that's a smaller photograph there. That is, right? The names of the people are on the back of it, right? So that if you wanted, you can have it. That was the first committee, the way they were set up. Then Jim Sheedy, myself, got it from a moment I can't. Willie Toohey, Checker Frawley, Sean Garvin, Peter Enright, Christy Sheehan, Christy Moynihan, he was chairman of it at that time, Martin Lynch and John Scanlon. All names on the back of it again, right, with the date.
Can you leave them with us for a short while so we can scan them?
Yeah.
We'll let them on with you as long as you watch your
That was at a social of the Provenance.
When you're finished, if you don't want them.
Because as I said, the problem is that
Well,
now
it's up to yourselves. You can let us have them to scan them, or you and take them back yourselves, or we can put them into the archives and preserve
Put
them.
them in. Put them in. We say put it
That'd
in.
be wonderful. Thank you.
We say yes.
Thank
Is
you.
that right, Mike?
well,
We'll
On
give
the
them to them
record.
to put them into the display and let them remain there.
all they got to do is they can easily make copies of the
And-
photographs.
And anything you
Yeah.
don't,
Right.
anything you don't know about there,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
contact us and
Now,
let you know.
Great.
in 1958, right, we had a strike in ranks. That was the problem there. And nobody knew what that time a strike was all out, supposed to be, and pickets across the thing. But we reached an agreement with the rest of the union crowds in Limerick. You get details of it on that, right? That we wanted parity with Cork, right?
Yeah.
And what we agreed with in the trade union halls at that time was that instead of we picketing the gates, they would get their members to contribute so much a week, right? And that money went in, and we were out for 5 weeks, right? But the people that was involved in the Provenance bill were getting their wages through the transport union. The money was going into the transport union. I was called a communist by the redemptors of the fathers at that time. He came down and said, people are starving out there. That wherever he got the things right, somebody must have told him the people were starving that was out in strike, you know. And he came down and he called myself, Christy Moynihan and Christy Sheehan communist, right? We had to get him to explain the thing to him. But you'll see there that there was discussions took place on it. You know, it's beginning to pay it. It's so long. You know? And at that time trade unions, that's transport union workers, they were all people that was in the transport unions at that time. And the name of there were delegates to annual conference and so forth. And you'll probably see there that, you know, who was who and from where what portions they came from, right? The branches that they came from, like the flour mill, Provenance Cinema, God only knows what, and they were all used to take place in Colony Hall. That's Colony Hall now, you know where it was, do you? Where a while now, you
In
go
Dublin.
down,
Yeah,
eh?
in the city.
In here in Limerick.
It's the big round one as you go down
Do you know the Franciscans?
Franciscans, across the
Do you know
road.
the building across the road on the corner? It's a fashion shop now.
Yeah.
And a Chinese or an Indian.
An Indian.
table. That was it.
That was Connolly Hall.
That was Connolly Hall.
That was Colony Hall.
Yeah.
And as I said, because of that strike, as I said, that happened in 1958, right? Once the strike was over and we returned, right, after getting a certain amount of what we wanted, I was approached, right, because I was union, right? I was approached by one of the foremen on the floor, on one of the floors, and told, get out of the union, you're a marked man.
That was Connolly.
And I was sacked in February, right? There was an instance there, and Brown wouldn't listen to anybody out, right? Now, as I said, for 5 weeks I walked the streets to Limerick. I had a mother and 2 younger at home, and I was getting money from nowhere, so I left the country and went to England. That's where I wound up. Right?
It was the end for you.
Yeah, never regretted it.
No.
Right? I went to England, worked over there, done everything and anything. Got involved with a rubber company, Cannon Rubber, that makes all the car mats, the baby feeders and everything. Right? Went in there as a labourer, and wound up as a floor manager there. 29 years or so. Jewish firm was the best crowd you could work for. You know? But that's more or less history as far as it's concerned.
And when
right?
did you come back then?
Hey?
When did you come back
Well,
to Ireland?
as I said, it was a fortunate thing because my wife was very ill. She had 2 heart attacks during her life. Right? We were both retired. I had taken over the job of running a workingmen's club over there as secretary, and I'd done that for 6 years, and in 2000 I moved from there down to Clacton on Sea. Or a bungalow, right?
You know.
Moved in Christmas week. My wife passed away the following September, right? And we had no family, so I had to make a decision. What was I going to do? And I decided, kept coming back and forth. And I decided to come back here and live here, right? Because I had brothers and sisters here, right? And that's, or as I said, the story of it, but I never regret it. As I said, it was the finest thing that ever happened to me. I worked in the Provident Mill. They had 2 balconies. I don't remember the balconies.
And I said I wouldn't.
And
Across the...
on the
No,
back
the
road.
gantries you were talking about,
Oh, right.
because these came out from the side of the building like a
They came
veranda.
out around
It's a stone
there was
building,
2
you
there.
know,
Yeah.
like a huge float pot, to be like, which you could walk from one part of it to the
Yeah.
other.
You could look
Yeah,
out on the
right.
dock road, yeah. And I used to see the old blokes coming over from the mill side and so forth, yeah. And they're covered in white, you know what I mean, from the floor and everything. And standing there to have a smoke. And I used to say to them, "My God, is this going to be my life?"
No.
I used to turn around. You know, I couldn't imagine myself turning around to be their age, and this is what I was. You know? But it all changed for me, as I said. The best thing that ever happened to me.
Didn't change for some of us, we had to stay there.
He stayed on.
So you stayed at the mill, did you?
Yeah.
I was in the floor side.
Oh, yeah.
When he talks about Provender, that's animal
that's the animal
foods.
food.
Yeah.
That's a building that went up in later years,
Yeah,
after the floor had been built,
because
and
it was,
so forth.
yeah, it was.
I'll be back
There
in
was
2
only a
seconds.
few. There was a
do
few
something.
working there, right, during the war years.
Yeah.
And in 1947, right, they decided to start to go into production again there,
Yeah.
right? And Noel O'Neill and myself was the 2 first daily boys that went in there.
It's the problem.
Yeah, 8 shillings a day we were getting, right? Big money at that
Yeah.
time. And as I said there, and then some of them started coming back from England and so forth. We opened it up and it was animal feeding they made there, you know? And then they had a flake portion on it, right? And then in 1950 they built the Blue Cross
Oh, yeah,
place there.
for the animal food.
Yeah, and the most amazing thing was that the silos there, and there was a gantry gone across between the docks, the 2 silos, you know?
Yeah.
And these young fellas, as I said, there was 3 of us one day up on top of the silos there. And one fella turned around and he says, "I'd better walk across that." And he walked across it.
On the top of it.
My God, walked across it, all right, to be from there to there in weight,
right.
but he was round, right? He walked across that and walked back across it again.
Oh, Lord.
A bloody madman.
It was for conveyors to carry the grain
Yeah.
across.
Yeah.
They came off of the boats, you know.
You see, the weight came in, the boats, the big ships come in to the harbour, the docks, the dry docks, what they call it, you know? And it was there, transported from there into the silos, one of the silos. Then it could be transported up that, right across them into the other silos. That's the way it was done. You know? And then you... No, I don't know, you'll never remember the wheat lorries going up and down to the railway.
I wouldn't remember that.
Right?
My mother
And
might.
the wheat lorries they could open them up the sides, you know,
Yeah.
and the whole lot of gold. But up around the park, they had to go through there. And as youngsters, right, you'd see them jumping on the back of them, picking up some of the corn, right?
Yeah.
And turning around. It was pea shooters that time they used to use it.
That's right.
Oh God.
And when did you finish up working in the middle?
Yeah.
When it closed.
When it closed, then you worked from that was 1983.
As I said, we filled you in as much as we could.
Well, you
right?
filled us in great. The amount
Right.
of stuff you brought us.
Now, do you want to hang on to all this or what?
I think Jackie's going to go out and make a few copies of some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she's doing now, I'd say. But I'd say she's going to take copies of them anyway, because
Yeah.
they're planning an exhibition next year, I think.
Yeah.
So that's what they're going to do then.
Well, as I said,
But that's great. You didn't expect to get too into
Yeah. as long as you give me a bit of a note stating that you received them, right?
Yeah.
And we'll return them.
Oh yeah, you'll get all that. You just need to sign this as well.
You
Just to
see,
say that you consent to the
you see that?
using
You see
it.
that photograph? You
Yeah.
have a look at that photograph. There's one
Let's
side
send it.
in the dock, and that's
Yeah.
the other one at the other side.
Oh yeah, I can
And
see
that's
them,
what
and
it
that's
cost. Now there was no buildings there. They were starting to build the mill at that time.
yeah.
Those silos was there at that time.
And what time
They
was
were
this?
installed. Which?
What time was this?
Oh God, to be around early time.
Yeah.
That's the old dock store there.
Yeah.
That's a tin and felt building. That's the building that went on fire one time. There was a big fire there.
Oh yeah.
And that's still there today. They tried to convert that there one time and put little shops into it, you know,
Yeah.
but it didn't work. That's belonged to what you call them, the Good Brothers, I think that is.
Good brothers, yeah.
Yeah, but that was part of the dock store. And up in the back here, covering 8 acres, ranks was built. But there were the silos across, you see.
Oh yeah.
That's where the boats came in and discharged down through an opening there. The wheat was discharged from the big ships, American Liberty ships and so forth. They came in, and the grain was discharged there because we had a boat which was known as Éireann Gurrá, and Éireann Gurrá was a carrier. They used to go down to the island, down the river there, down in where Syntax is now, and the boats would come in and they wouldn't be able to come up the river, so we had another boat in called the Garryon, and that would tow that down, and our men would discharge so many tons onto up and that into the Éireann Gurrá, come up and put it in there, and then go back down again.
Yeah.
And then the boat would come up with the rest of it, because the river was too low at the time.
Yeah.
And the rest of the wheat to be discharged here. It would be taken, discharged in there, into the silo there, underground of course, up there, across there, in there, down there. And it would go from there then, as we said, it would go to the dryers, the screens, to the mill to be washed. It was washed and cleaned in the screen house. The dryers dried it, especially if it was Irish wheat, it all had to be dried. But imported wheat didn't have to, because it was Canadian wheat, American wheat, and Manitoba wheat. You didn't have to dry that because it was solid. But when it was dried during the wheat season, the Irish wheat, it would be stored in the silos here and then called back. And there was silos built up here, 4 big silos as one, up the ones that couldn't blow up. Do you remember those?
No.
I once said there was a saying out at the time. No, and this is no offence now meant on this now. No, don't take it wrong. It was the only blow job that didn't work in the dock road. They couldn't blow it up. And that was genuine. It was made so strong. And I tell you what made it strong. At the time they couldn't get steel steel was scarce. And the people who was building it went all over Europe, and they bought up what gunmetal they could after the World Wars, the Second World War. It was brought back here, and it was inserted into that to reinforce that building.
So which building is it?
It's not there. It's not there. They went in after this. This is before they were built. This is before the warehouse was there, or the mills or anything was there.
Yeah.
But it's behind the mill. You might have a photograph of it. I'd show it you. And it was built up here, up in the yards. And that's where they put gunmetal into it to reinforce it. And they couldn't get steel. And that's the way they couldn't blow it up.
They couldn't load it.
But how's that
I
one?
heard as well that that building, that they had to excavate into rock for the foundations. So
once they started building, they went down. It was solid rock. You know, it was solid rock. I've seen it. And once they started building, they couldn't stop. They had to work 24 hours a day. Someone constantly going in. But to get the excavation in it, if you could visualise it, you would say, we're down here, this is where we are. But up here you had to go up a big incline to get to it. Up the yard, as we call it. The stables used to be up there, the garage was up there. And the mill now was a big building, it was 8 stories high. But yet when you compare the height of the mill to where you stand in that yard, it came up to 4 of them. So you can picture now what was rock was. It was a quarry originally, you see, and it was all solid stone. So they blessed and blessed and blessed.
So it was never going to be blown up, really.
You couldn't. They tried it. Didn't work.
There was 1 or 2 tragic accidents down there. One of them, he'll tell you the name of the person that fell into one of the silos. Right? And just.
That was over in the dock store. And there was a younger fella that went over there. And in that building there, he was inside in that building there. And you see, inside, if you went into the inside of that building, it was raised up, the roof. And there was hoppers underneath. When the wheat would go in, they could dry it off in bags. And the floor was made to a level that a cart could put in and load onto it. And the young fellas was over there and they were full acting or something happened. One of them jumped into it. But unfortunately the wheat was being drawn from it. So he couldn't get his grip and it sucked him down. But by the time we got to him, I was one of the people we got to him, he was gone down too long under it. It had smothered him to death. So
what was his name?
Murphy. His father was a lorry driver. Son Murphy was his father. He was a lorry driver in ranks.
His father worked there as well?
He did. And we put a rope around his body here to pull him out. Why I know, because I was one of the first aiders in the company, that if there was an accident I'd go to it, because I was trained in first aid from the St. John's Ambulance Brigade, you see. And any place there was an accident I would be called. There was lots of accidents, there was lots of deaths, but they're not things you like to talk about. And they wouldn't, I don't think they'd make great reading, there would only be sad memories for people.
What age did you start working in ranks? When was
17 I went into ranks. I was 17.
Was it your first job?
Pardon?
Was it your first job?
Yeah, you could say it was my first. My first job I had was 2 years before that in the dock store here, which was part of it. And it was only a summer job.
That's when we all started. The wheat season.
The wheat season, when the Irish wheat started coming in. But it was a natural instinct. We didn't think of anywhere else. We all followed that. Because basically, you know, I'd say that 95% of the people who worked in ranks will be out the same way as I am. They were all passed from the father to the son to the daughter.
Yeah.
And if your father worked in ranks, you'd get a job.
So it's very much a family affair then, yeah?
If you had to, all things been fair, you know, you got a job.
In the wheat season, as I said, you more or less went down there, and at 8 o'clock in the morning, Jackie Hoolan came along.
Well, they were jobbed in a casual base. Jobbed in a casual base.
He turned around and said, you you know. Cat boys help out there, you know, so.
I was known as at that time when I got it first was the weigh boy. I stood at a weighing scale, a normal scale that went up and down with big weights and small weights. And when the big weights would be on it, because you'd never get a bag of wheat coming in off the country under 12 or 14 stone. But the extra weights that would go on it, I'd be throwing them on. And there'd be a weight master there calling them. And when he'd see it was, we said just 20 stone, he'd shout to the tallyman behind, 20 not. Cat boy, take it away. Down how it went. It was sampled before it went down and everything, you know.
Oh, yeah.
The moisture content, the whole lot was on the screenings. That's the way they paid them then, you know. According to the quality of the stuff they sent in and the amount.
So that was your
When you
first job.
think,
That was what I done.
when you think today and you see labels in stores and so forth, not to lift this is too heavy at a certain weight.
I know.
And as I said, we were only 16, maybe 17, and the farmers would come in with their
Or some women had big
things,
ones.
and there might be 18 or 20 stone inside in that
I
sack.
did. I seen them with 25 stone
Yeah.
In a sack.
in a sack.
Yeah.
25 good wheat now. Good grown wheat, clean wheat.
Yeah.
25 stone. Up. And if the fella be carting it, the bag would be bigger than it. You know?
Tough work, so.
Then, as I said,
But that was wheat season.
yeah.
And if they didn't move fast enough, they would replace the fella.
Yeah.
And were you permanent at 17 or were you still casual?
When I went into the flour mill, off to the Provender mill first, I went in there because all my people was in the flour mill, but he went into the Provender mill of his choice. But I went in there because I was told when I become 18 I'd be automatically transferred to the flour side. So that was an agreement. So I went in there and I spent 2 years in there, and then I went to the flour side, and then I became a foreman there. I ended up as foreman in there, production foreman.
And did you stay as a way boy for many years?
That was only two years school holidays. You know, you wouldn't say 2 years, you know.
Okay.
When you were out of school, you know, your holidays.
And where were you when you where were you stationed when you kind of were brought in full time?
I was put into the Provender mill.
Oh, okay.
So I followed on from there, and then at the age, we'd say
18.
18, I went automatically across into the floor side. And I went through the whole system.
And did you were you happy with that, to be in the flour mill?
Well, I tell you this, and if you think about this, there was no place else we were ever taught of, only ranks, the flour mill. From our youngest day, and I mean from my youngest day, from the day I was 8 years of age, was the first time I seen Mr. Mercer. And I saw Mr. Mercer outside in the LPYMA grounds on Dennis Road at the annual sports.
That's
The
right.
employees.
You used to have a sports.
And I was in a race, and I won a prize, and he presented it to me. And I tell you this, I walked up to him, and he said, "Here, Copues, congratulations, I know your grandfather, James." No,
Well, the name was there.
like
You
that.
went into ranks. You said Copues. Oh,
There was 1,
it
2,
was straight. That was
4 generations.
So there was a very good
the
relationship so between the
generations.
between the employees and
Well, how would I say
in
it?
essence,
The
yeah.
relationship was such, it was a family relationship between ranks and the company and the employee.
Yeah.
There was that relationship. You know what I mean? My father got his living out of it. His father before him.
all our uncles.
And my
aunts,
2 uncles
relations.
and my aunt. All cousins, first
All
and
their
second
children.
cousins.
Yeah.
All their children.
All the boys, yeah.
And it went as far as even I had a sister in there. I had 2 sisters about the ranks, along with Mick. That was
Yeah.
one. And I had another brother who just before, when the war broke out, he was employed in ranks in the Shannon Mills. But at that time, when the war broke out, they reduced the staff. And he was one of the people who was reduced. He went to England and stayed in England.
They reduced the staff at the wartime.
They had to.
Really?
Yeah, there was too much there. And another thing they made at the wartime was, if you were working in ranks, and if you volunteered and went off and joined the English army, you would get your job back if you came back.
Oh.
And it did happen, and I seen it happening.
Oh, I seen him coming back.
I see him coming back after the war, fellas that joined the RAF.
That's what I'm saying.
And they came back and got their job.
But I thought that the wartime there was great shortages, and that
There was
the mill
great.
was under a lot of pressure to produce flour.
No.
And they actually laid off staff.
No, the flour mill, there was no importation of flour or grain. The grain had to be grown in Ireland. And the grain was grown in Ireland and dried. And that's the way the dryers was involved. And the capacity for holding grain. Long before the war broke out, listen to this, that was discussed between the Irish government, the trade unions and the English government. That they had to have a storage of grain somewhere in Ireland. And the best place to have it was there. Because the capacity and the space was there. And that was agreed and held to. Now, it was kept secret at the time because it could have been blown out of it. But it was used. But it was controlled. The movement of grain was controlled, very restricted, because there was no white flour. All the flour was brown. And of a very poor quality because it was Irish wheat. Now, you'll often hear them talking about at the time, the brown bread was around, people got scabies. They were even blaming it on that. Because the bread was so poor. Now, if you saw the flour that came out at that time, it was brown, real brown. You could hardly bake with it. But what some people used to do, the wise mothers of Limerick, they used to sift it themselves, because there was no sifting. They used to sift it, take out the bran, and separate it, and the best of the flour, they'd make a cake for it. If your daughter was getting married, that's how they made your cake. And the bran was taken from it, and they were fed the bran. But that was the secret of it.
So would it make okay porridge now, we'll say? No.
Well, porridge
is
for
more a
malts.
different crop, isn't it?
It's made from malts. They're different type of cereal. You know, you couldn't make porridge from there.
Yeah.
There used to be what was known at that time, if you ever heard the Indian meal. Indian meal was maize.
Yeah.
And that was ground down.
Yeah.
And it was yellow. And people, no, even though it was for animals, people used to buy it, take it home.
From ranks?
Yeah. It was sold in the shops. They take it home, they buy a portion of it up in the top of William Street, O'Neill's and those. They used to sell it all those shops along there. And you go in and you get maybe a stone of that and you take it home. And you made a meal out of that, like a porridge, but it was yellow.
Yeah. Yes, I said that was probably...
That was it. Yellow meal, that's what they called it.
That was part of the problem.
And if you go back in history...
They had a flake meal there, and it went through there. It was cooked, dried and everything, and it came out then like... The same as you're getting your...
cornflakes.
What's your... them Frangels.
Yeah.
Came out like that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah.
But you see, at that time there was no, it wasn't cooked. That was raw. But the meal came in. There was a certain amount of that floating around.
Yeah.
And that's what it was used for, yellow meal.
Yeah.
And I tell you something, if you go back into the penal days during the famine, what did the Protestants feed the Catholics if they wanted them to change their religion? Answer me. What type of food did they give them? Yellow meal.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That was it. Yellow meal used to make big pots of that. But during the war years, that was eaten here. That's what they survived on.
That's that, yeah.
A pinch of sugar if you had it. If you didn't, you put a barley sugar into it instead of... That's a fact. You might laugh at that, but that was the case. Barley sugar was yours. That was the situation, you know.
There's a real history attached to that.
There's as I said, the setup between the two, it was the family and it was the management, we could say, of ranks. You didn't think of anywhere else. It didn't bother you. And then there was a saying, all was good.
Best job in Limerick.
If you had an education, you were offered 2 jobs. Ranks at the banks. No, that's a fact.
Yeah.
So you took ranks. We took ranks because it was our heritage. Somebody else went to the banks.
Oh, that's it.
We ended up, at the end of the day, by being destroyed by losing our jobs and closing down. And the banks ended up destroying the country.
That's the way it was.
Yeah, dear.
That's the way it turned out. That's the way it's worked out.
Put your name there.
Oh, yes.
So were you there, Albert, right up to the closure?
I was one of the last to leave it.
Yeah.
Myself and a man, you might know his daughter, Paddy Deegan. She's here. Myself and himself was the 2 last men to load a lorry, because there was no one there. All the fellas, fed up, walked away. There was a lorry there to be loaded. No one to load it. But the load had to go down, so we loaded it. And it wasn't our job at all. Underneath this,
Yeah, just
where do you want it?
Put your name there.
you can write your name in the next sentence, because there's another line down at the bottom
Yeah.
there.
You can just put it under there under
Okay.
Michael.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's okay. That's fine.
But that's
And
No.
did the job change much after the in the 50s and the 60s?
it changed quite a lot. There was a time there when the wheat was coming in at the height of the season. You had 1,200 people working there. Now casual and permanent. This would be after the war now. You know. And that was rubbed down and brushed out to about 240, 250 people. Now, things changed, because how things changes, you know what I mean, modernisation. One of the things that changed straight away was the transport situation, which was horse-drawn, and the old-fashioned trucks disappeared.
Yeah.
And you had a modern truck to come in, modern transport. And then you went from package flour, in bags, which was all bags in the earlier part, and every bag had to be packed and had to be handled. It went to bulk, and there was bulk bins. You could put thousands of tons into bulk bins. You were taking it from there to there and throwing it through the mill. So that eliminated a lot of staff.
Okay.
You know what I mean? The handling was involved. Plus the fact, if you bought a sack of flour or a packet of flour or any kind, every sack that you bought, there was 5 shillings charged in it. So if you didn't return that sack, you'd pay 5 shillings. But you take the bakery, who would take 1,000 bags, they had to come back.
Were these the white?
No, they're not the white ones. You didn't get white ones at that time. These was Hessian.
Just ordinary
Jews.
Hessian, okay.
And it was printed on a 5 shillings charge. Now, when the bags came back, they were returned to the sack store. That's where the women's work came in. The men would separate the bags, the prices that would come back. And there might be a ticket like that on the back of it from Mrs. So-and-so at such a bakery. And he'd count each one of those bags. And he'd mark that down and put his signature after it. And he might have that amount of them, and they'd be passed off to a clerk. The clerk then would write all those onto a sheet. Understand? That sheet then would go to the head office, and they would be allowed that money back on that. But in the process of that, you would be going through, the man would be going through those. Now he might spot some that's badly damaged, he'd put them aside. He mightn't spot some more they could get through. But then they'd go from that to the girls, and the girls then would get those and clean them. They had a big cone, and vacuum, up to go, come down, turn it again. Now, the bag would come down, they'd be clean, be put aside, and it was all separated. Now, when it was cleaned and separated and it was okay, it would be bundled and returned back around and up then for repacking.
Was there any sewing involved at this stage?
No, this is what I come into. The ones now that was put out as bed was taken away and into the sewing room. They were all taken in. Now, this is where Mrs. Carver comes, that lady.
Yeah.
They would go through her, and she'd give them to the girls so many, 100, you know. There was something like 10 sewing machines there. And there were what you call darners, not straight sewing. There was only one straight sewing machine there. The rest was darners. Just put it in and they'd be twisting them that way to fill it in. Now, when that was done, those girls would get a ticket from her, and they would keep all their tickets. The end of the day, she collected all the tickets and went in the box. They were taken by her up to the desk. The clerk could look at them again, and they were all put aside and marked in the sheet. The foreman that would be there would check them, and they would be paid a bonus for the amount of sacks they done per day. Now, they had a basic rate which would be small, but they would get a bonus for it would be on the sacks. And if you were out cleaning the sacks, you had a standard rate. And your ambition was to get in there and get a bonus.
Yeah.
So you've done your job as fast as you could. You know, and that's the fact.
And did that sack place stay right up to the closure?
That sack plate was there up to, I'd say, about 6 years before it closed. They took it was on a basement, you see, there was a basement in the building. And the packing floors was straight up overhead and so forth like that. But about 6 years before it closed, it changed so drastically that we went into paper. And now the paper was just you got 1,000 bags that high off of the floor. You picked it up and you went into a valve like that. It was corn. Filled. Weighed it, filled it. You didn't have to turn it, it would tuck itself back. That was just falling down the skid. That was it, and they went on to pallets. And when you palletised them, they were wrapped. That was put aside. Prior to that, when the sacks came down, they had to be taken off of it at a certain height. There was a man employed, 2 men in each shift. Listen to this. And the sacks would be coming off. And their rate of taking off the sacks, a bag a minute, for 8 hours, 480 sacks, right? Am I right there?
I'd say so.
30 ton. And they had to take that on their shoulder, on top of their shoulder, and then they go 15 paces with that. They'd stack it along here in a bay. They had to build the bags that way, along the bus slot. Then they lock them between the columns. And the next lot that would go up would go flat like that.
Okay.
Now, until they had 480 sacks
Right,
down
the
in a
shift.
shift. That was 30 ton a day,
Yeah, that was a shift.
30 ton a night.
Yeah.
And that was going on. There were 6 of those, 6 what they call bay down men. And they were taken down. Between them, that was 60 ton on each shift, but 3 shifts. And that
Was that the hardest section? Hardest bit physically?
Well, physically that was hard. Yes. Well, then the men that was packing it has it physically hard too. Because there was packing machines along the way. And those men had to keep, the flour would come off faster. You've got 120 in the hour. And you could increase according to the output you'd be coming out of the mill. And they could be taken off 130, 140 bags an hour. Those men had to take those off. I have to show you this. There's the packer there, they take it from there. The bag would have to go up, they'd have to be locked on. Now there'd be a number of you there working at the same time. Pull a lever, the bag would flour fall in. Automatically then, when it's weighed, the automatic lever would cut it out. They were made by Avery's. And when it kicked out, it was dropped. That bag was taken open like that. And he had to walk back from there to a sewing machine. It had to be sewn and left there. Another one had to sew. Then he had to get a cat, get the tool in and take up the skid. The opening, the hole as we call the skid. It could be the lint of this building, if not double the lint of it. And come back again. And this was going on. That was all hard, but there was no, how would I say, there was no weak, you wouldn't want to be weak
Yeah.
But I tell you this much, as hard as it was, I never heard them complain. Because they enjoyed what they were doing. They were paid for what they were doing. They were in out of the weather. There was no heating. You couldn't have heating down the floor mill. Winter and summer. But they never complained. They were happy they had jobs. Got on with what they had to do. They were happy to do it. They didn't want trouble. They didn't want to cause trouble. They just wanted to do their job and be paid for it. And that went on right on through. And that cut across everywhere, right across the board. Anyone that tells you otherwise is an answer. And I've seen all sides of it. I've seen it at management side, and I've seen it at the worker side. And I went through them all. And as I said there earlier on, it was brought into you from a young age. You went in there, and you went in there to give your life there. It's just like, as they'd say years ago, going down the coal mines. We went there. I know I had pals and friends, and they went to, maybe some of them went to the gas house, some of them went to the dock, but I went to ranks. And they knew I got to ranks before it. And they said, oh, we'll be going to the gas house, you're going to ranks, you're alright. And that was a fact.
Was there much unemployment generally? Was it hard to get work?
There was unemployment. Because you see, most of the jobs were held and filled at the time. And at my time, you see, the war was only after finishing that I went in there, you see. Yeah. As I said, 1947, which you could say I was in the dock store, you know.
Yeah.
And that was 2 years, and then I went into the other place. So I spent 34 years in the flour mill and 2 years over in the dock store. But forget about that. But the unemployment was there, but you had, in a lot of the places, you had Spades, McMahon's, you had Batterson's, you had the tannery, Shannon Foundry,
the gas company.
Yeah. There was people there, but there'd be a certain amount of permanent people, but there'd be always a few casuals, as they would call them. The docks then was a different thing. You might have 300 or 400 dockers down the docks, and they all go into different stevedores. But it's like everything. They know the stevedore that has such reports, and they'd work with him, and they wouldn't go to the other fella unless he got shot. But they went from one place to another. It never bothered them. But you didn't get any dole, you didn't get any labour. Didn't exist.
No unemployment.
No. If you were out, you were out.
5 shillings a week.
You were out. You got nothing.
Oh yeah. The labour was 5 shillings a week.
Well, I remember one time it happened to me. I was out for 3 months or something. Less than 10 shillings I had a week. I was lucky to get it.
So it was very small, basically, was it? It was hard to survive.
It wasn't. You wouldn't even talk about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was very. But then again, things was cheap too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
A shilling was a shilling.
Yeah.
You know, but it was. As the people said, I used to hear the people saying, "After the good old days, we had the good old days themselves," and we go back and we say we had the good old days. But when you look at the good old days, they weren't as good as you thought they were. They were good all right if you were at work, because your work occupied you. It kept you tied up. Yes. And all you'd be waiting is for the weekend to get out chasing the women. Be honest about it, you know.
You could go out on a Saturday night. There used to be 4 of us used to chum together, right? We could go in around the drinks each, go to the Stella, go to Cruises, right? The dance halls, right there, and come out after that and go into the Roma or one of the have fish and chips, right? And go home and wake up Sunday morning with change in your pocket from the £10 note or 10 shilling note. Right? You turn around and think of it. That was what times was then.
And you had a post office book, then open for £1 a week. You were great.
Cigarettes were 6 pence for 5.
Yeah.
6 pence for 5 cigarettes. Right? Honestly, as I said, I'll tell you this much. they were good times.
They were
Right?
still
And they
tough.
were good times.
We didn't think about
Because,
it.
you know what I mean? You lived in a council house. You wouldn't... It didn't dream of you that you were going to have a red brick house, or you were going to buy a red brick house that time. You know? You were just happy with what you had.
You went in and went out and went about your
As I
business.
said, you know, honestly, as I said,
And we had
it's
no
crazy
accounts.
now. I mean, the children's allowance, there was no
Didn't
children's
exist.
allowance
Didn't
in my
exist.
growing up. Right?
That's a good thing now, I think.
And I know.
Well,
all family-
no, but really, you know, but I look at it and I say to myself,
What?
to have for this child and that child. I had children, you know, and we got nothing until the third fella was born. We got nothing at all. We got £5,000 in a week for him, and that was it.
I know,
You know, what would they have? You know, I don't know what this would. I know they have more than £5,000 in them. They have so much for each one. Oh,
Yeah.
in our family there was 10,
that's
right?
right.
My father was married twice. There was four in the first family. There was 6 of us in the second family, right? My father was the bread earner,
That's right.
right? And if his wages was £3 a week, right? Now, you can, how did you feed a family of that?
I think the
With
basic wage at that time was about a fiver.
Hey?
About a fiver.
Yeah, 3.
That's what they want.
I know, it
Five,
was like
five,
£3 or
£5
£5, yeah.
£5 to 6.
Yeah.
Where did you live? With the 10? Did you all
We all lived in one house off St George's Street,
off St. John's?
Voices Field.
Boys' Field.
Do you know what Voices Court is?
Yeah.
Small
In
house.
there. Small house, yeah.
Small
There's 10 of
house.
us there.
Where did you go to school then?
Model.
Model
We all
school.
went to the model.
Model
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
Oh, God, we did.
Dear.
We wouldn't be left go to Limerick school.
Nah.
No.
Yeah.
We
We
all
were
went
told,
to
stay away from them.
get on top to the model.
Dear, honestly. As I said, yeah, life.
But we all done different things. And then, as I say, I know you're talking about ranks there. There was a good social life there. Don't get me wrong now. Because ranks had a social life in such a way that you had a choir there
Yeah.
forming the ranks. And this, we sang everywhere, a mere voice choir. We sang up in Drogheda, and we sang on Radio Éireann, and we sang in the Savoy with number 2 Army Band. We took part in Tops of the Town
Yeah.
umpteen times. And outside of that then there was various things. There was soccer, there was rugby, there was lots of sports involved. But behind it all were the men. There was men behind it all, working men. But management was there, Mercer was there. He was always there in the back line. You know?
Yeah.
I have to say that now.
He was a gentleman.
He was a
You
gentleman.
could talk to him.
He was.
He would listen to you. You know, there was no aggravation sort of type, you know, or dictatorship to you. He'd listen to you. And he'd turn around and say, right, leave it with me, I'll see if I can sort it out.
And you respected him.
Oh, you
had
respected
great
him,
respect
honestly.
for him. Now, do you know
Yeah.
the way you'd look at a priest and the respect you give a priest?
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
might be changed today, of course, priest.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but
nice.
you
Had
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of
He
a
was a real
reverence.
gentleman.
Yeah.
Didn't matter where you met him. You could be crossing the yard down there,
Yeah.
and he mightn't have seen you for maybe 5 years,
Yeah.
and he'd say, hello, Albert. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Now, I was foreman, had a lot of deals going through. And I mightn't see him maybe for 3 years. He wouldn't bother you. If you were doing your job, you'd have no matter. If you weren't doing your job, up here, I want to see you. Sit you down like that. Sit down there and listen to me.
If he seen that you were after doing a good job someplace or other, right, he made sure to come over and say,
He'd say it. He didn't matter whether you were cleaning the floor or a manager.
he would, you know,
Yeah.
he would come over to you.
Yeah, I said that.
Although we were only boys or ordinary people there, you know. He made it his business to come over. Who's that, John Paddy?
I think that's John O'Donnell.
Huh?
Yeah.
Well, John O'Donnell.
That's
More
John.
interviews going.
We were all
let's get
round
Johnny.
in the same place.
John will give up.
You'll give them more early.
Right,
Go on, anyway. You've given us.
right.
But
Great.
anything else you want to know? I
Oh,
have
God.
a notebook too. I was
Yeah.
can't get it to you some stage.
Yeah.
It takes you back to when the dock store was the dock store and all the names was there. And the salaries they had was on it. I
Yeah.
tried for it, I can't find it, but it's around somewhere.
It's a book you had at home, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they were closing down, you see all these
Yeah.
things would be. So I picked up this. But the salary, the wages that men was paid, no, 90% of the men at that time was all casuals.
Yeah.
They didn't make anyone permanent until after the war years. If they took in anyone, they were casual at that time. Casual meant they could let you go at any time. You know? But the salaries is down there. Men was paid 6 shillings a day, 5 shillings a day.
Yeah. If you could find that now, that'd be great.
And those men used to bag 20 stone bags of wheat, 20 stone bags of wheat, up on top of one another and stack them into sheds, as we'd call storage sheds, or big old sheds they had ranks in. There were all the old stores that wanted them all down along the dock. And the grain had come in from the country, there was so much of it there, they'd have to stack it somewhere. What they used to do was dry it first, and they'd refill it into 20 stone and send it back out to these places, because they'd have to keep it clear inside and keep it moving all the time. I'll see if I can get out of it, I'll drop it
And
in.
we'll have to,
I'll leave them
we'll have
with
to-
you.
We live with us there now,
yeah,
you
if you
know,
leave
right?
them with Jackie now, and if you find, because Jackie Hayes is the one who's in head of the project.
Okay.
So
And if she wants to know anything else, or wants to know any more,
she
I'll
can
leave that
contact
with you
you.
too, because that'll bring you back now 100 years, mate.
Yeah, and we're having another census year this year,
Yeah.
next April. So
Yeah.
that'll do a lot.
Whatever you do, don't lose them. And
even
We won't lose-
even on that, my grandmother there,
Couldn't
my
possibly.
grandmother there had an uncle who worked out in the lock mills out in Carberry. Do you ever hear of the lock mills in Carberry?
Carberry, no. I didn't hear the lock mills there,
there
no.
was the most modern mill in Ireland was lock mills out in Carberry before any mill was
Yeah.
built. And it was so far across, you know the bats in Carberry, where the bats used to be.
Yeah, where they used to be.
Across the way from that, Lock Mills was there.
Yeah.
And he was a miller out there. Her brother, her uncle,
Your uncle, yeah.
my grandmother's uncle. And do you know the way they used to communicate into town here when they'd want stuff and so forth?
Yeah.
You'll laugh at this. They had pigeons.
Pigeons.
Listen to this, they had pigeons. Now this is genuine. And you know where the tax office is?
Yeah.
That was Martin Maguire's store. That was a big place. Martin Maguire would want 100 bags of bran and 10 bags and 30 bags of flour. Now they'd get it ready outside, but he'd send out a pigeon with his order out. Stop us, it would come into the loft outside in Lock Mills. Pigeonry. Take it out. We got ready. They send back another one. It's ready for you. Come out. They go and have some card and bring it in.
That's something I
I'm
want
not
to know.
joking, you know.
I believe you.
That's true. That's true.
That's
That's
certainly
the
something I
social
didn't
sitting
know.
there. Pigeons. There
Yeah.
was no telephone. There was nothing like that.
I suppose
But that's
you
the way
forget about all these things now.
But that's the way they communicated. That was genuine.
Yeah.
That was out
Right.
to Lock Mills and Carberry.
Lock Mills and Carberry, yeah.
No.
Don't forget.
So no, love.
Okay.
We leave you.
Well-
We love you.
I'll leave you with you.
And if you want to
Yeah.
any other time, you
Sure.
can give
We have
Michael-
your number anyways.
You can
And
give
don't
Michael a
worry,
buzz.
Anyway.
we'll keep it all safe.
See
Don't
you.
worry
All right.
about it.
What's your
Thanks a
name?
million. Alba is my name.
Alba.
Alba. Yeah, and you're Albert.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Alright, thanks a million.
Alright.
And that's everything
If you
there
need
now.
any more now.
Oh, thanks a million.
Want
now.
any questions?
Okay,
Okay.
bye now.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, this is Alba Curran from Mary Immaculate College, and that was an interview with Michael Copues and his brother Albert, who worked at the Limerick Ranks Mill, and Jackie Hayes also part interviewed for that as well. And today's date is the 11th of March 2011.